A common question I see is where to train at certain levels, especially for given classes. While I don't think optimizing lower levels by class matters that much due to how quick it is, when you start hitting the higher levels, 230s, 240s, it takes multiple hours per level, and every optimization can save a large amount of time. Having not seen a lot of resources for that, I decided to put in some time testing the maps that I personally thought were most relevant for Bowmasters, and showing what kind of kill rates I can find at each of these maps to determine where I think are the best to train. These are the results of that test. Keep in mind that I personally play on regular server, and all these tests have been done using Frenzy Totem and a Lucid Soul, which I have on my weapon. I'm also fairly well funded, being about 33k stat, which, while not the high end, is higher than a lot of players can be at my level range. So your kill rates might drop a bit if you aren't able to deal the same amount of damage and deal with enemies quite as quickly. The first map I want to talk about is Star Swallowing C1, just released in CLS a few weeks ago. Star Swallowing C1 has a pretty similar layout to CLP, and makes for really easy training, being able to just deploy a few summons and hold Blaster for most of the time training, only really moving for loot rotations. It also has an extremely high kills per minute compared to other maps, me being able to average about 440, including loot rotations, making it my number one choice for experience for Bowmasters at this range. It does have a downside that it doesn't have many relevant drops like other maps that you can consider at this range, but if your priority is experience, this is definitely the map to pay. The next map I'd recommend is MTS2, Mirror Touch C2. Mirror Touch C2 does have a lower basic P for mobs, having a slightly lower level than Star Swallowing C1, and I personally have only been able to optimize to a slightly lower kill rate. However, Mirror Touch C2 is a great option if you care about still being able to farm droplets, since Star Swallowing C and further maps won't be able to give droplets due to their map location on regular servers. Mirror Touch C, though, does give pretty good experience rates, and is quite an acceptable option, especially when you consider that on average I get 2 droplets an hour with about 100% drop gear, making it a great option if you're trying to get some money while farming as well. If your priority while leveling is getting familiars instead of droplets or the best experience rates, you could do a lot worse than Void Current 3. Void Current 3 gives a pretty respectable experience rate despite its lower kill rate due to the high base experience per mob at this map, and is going to be one of the best maps for farming familiars in this level range. You'll be able to get familiars to farm towards that 30% boss, 30% ignore enemy defense, large drop, or healing familiars, which are all helpful for bossing or farming at various points, with only a slight reduction in experience compared to Star Swallowing C, which makes it a great choice if familiars are going to be your priority for upgrading your own character. On more populated servers, it's good to have map backups, because farming can't sometimes be hard with channels being completely full. The first backup that I think is worth mentioning is Star Swallowing C4. Star Swallowing C4 has a very similar layout to Star Swallowing C1, but I found that the extra platform on the left does tend to result in a lower kill rate, giving a slightly worse experience per minute than Star Swallowing C1. However, the rotation is very similar, and you'll get very similar experience rates if Star Swallowing C1 happens to be full. So as a result, it would be my number one choice as a backup map if these other ones aren't available. If you instead prefer more active farming with Hurricane, Plunging Depths 4 is a great backup map. It gives you a nice mix-up from the training at every other map mentioned here, and will give experience rates that are slightly better than Mirror Touch C2, though admittedly without the droplet potential at that map. As a result, Plunging Depths 4 is a solid map as a backup choice when you want a bit of a different style of training, or if channels are full. I'd also like to give an honorable mention to Labyrinth the Suffering Core 4. This map consistently has high burning, being an unpopular choice among many other classes. However, it gives very high experience per mob, and this high burning will mean that you can actively train with higher buffs on average. It also drops familiars, which can always be useful towards gearing for endgame. but will have an awkward loot rotation due to the platform's positioning and spread. You can train here with Hurricane, though be warned that I think it will require higher funding than any other map mentioned here, due to its very high mob base level. My Phoenix doesn't even one-shot at this map. However, I think it's very worth exploring and is a great choice if you are on the higher echelons of funding. So those are my picks for the best maps to train at as a Bowmaster using Frenzy service in regular servers. If you think I missed a map, feel free to let me know in the comments. And if you could include a rotation of how you would handle that map, please let me know and I'll be sure to test it out. You can also look at the description for in-depth clips of my rotations at any of these maps. That'll be a few minutes long, so you can see how I loot and how I handle them more accurately. Thanks for watching, and good luck training.